guys, it's Shell from Tangy Library Baby and Me, and we are in my house because life has been just Looney Tunes crazy. Would you like to meet my special guest for the day? Okay, so this is my puppy, and his name is Moo. His real name is Morty, but we all call him the Moo. And what animal, this is a dog, of course, but what animal makes a moo sound? Moo does not make a moo sound. He barks just like a dog. But if there's another animal and it goes moo, can you remember? It's a cow. That's right. Today we are going to go back to polar bears, and we are going to learn a little bit about them. But we're going to read a book which is really, really kind of neat because of the art that is used in it. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But first, we are going to do our Snowflake Song. Do you remember this one? It's the one where we use snow, not rain, snow. And it's sung to Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Okay, are you ready? Snowflakes, snowflakes falling down, falling, falling to the ground. Can you catch one on your nose? Will they fall and touch your toes? Snowflakes, snowflakes falling down, falling, falling to the ground. Okay, so that's our song for the month. And who can tell me what our color is? Do you know? Snow is that color. Our polar bear, we've been doing Marco the polar bear. Our polar bear is that color. Clouds are that color. Some wolves, Arctic wolves, are this color. There are snowy owls who are this color. It's white. And do you remember the sign language for that? It's just like pulling a tissue. White. White. Okay. And do you remember bear? Because we are going to be doing our polar bear. And did you notice that our craft, you have your very own Marco the polar bear? Okay, so bear is we put our hands, we cross our hands over, and we kind of scratch our shoulders and say bear with this kind of a face. Bear. Okay? All right. So, let's talk about polar bears. Polar bears live where it is very, very cold. They tend to swim. They like deeper water. They eat seals. They eat fish. They are big predator animals, kind of like a tiger or other bears can be. They do, if you see a brown bear in the zoo, a brown bear may eat berries or bark or whatever. But in the Arctic, there aren't very many berries or bark. But if you've ever gone and you've seen a polar bear in a zoo, or some aquariums have them in a certain area with penguins where they'll have an Arctic area. I've been to a big theme park that does different kinds of aquatic animals, and they had a polar bear exhibit. Did you know that polar bear, even though they live mostly off they're mostly carnivores, which means they're meat eaters. They eat other animals like we eat chicken or turkey or hamburgers or cows. Just like we like those things, they are mostly carnivorous in the wild. But one of their favorite treats is pumpkin. If you go to a zoo and they give a polar bear a pumpkin, he will get all excited. But in the Arctic, there's no pumpkins for him to eat. So in the only zoo and theme park, polar bears get pumpkins to snack on, but they get very excited and they crunch it apart and eat it like the happiest treat ever. So like you or I might be like, yay, a cookie. That's how they are about eating a pumpkin. They are covered in 2 layers of fur. So they have an outer fur that is very wiry, and then they have a thick undercoatings. A lot of dogs will have these if they're more cold weather dogs, like a husky. You know, I have a Labrador, and he does not. He has a very sleek one layer coat. But if they are animals that are bred to live in the cold, and I think we talked about this with wolves a while back, where they have more than one layer of fur so that it holds the heat in, it traps the heat. But in addition to that, just like our walrus from last week, polar bears do have a really thick, like this thick layer of blubber, which is that very, very dense kind of fat. It has blood vessels and things that go through it. It's not like Shell's cookie tummy at all. It's very, very different. But that dense layer keeps them warm. So they have the 2 layers of fur, and then they have the very dense blubber. And this is really important because polar bears swim very deep into the water. So, you know, it's of course very cold up where the ice and things are, but the deeper you go in the water, I don't know if you've ever gone in a pool at the beginning of the summer, or maybe in March or April where it's not quite warm, the sun hasn't been out long enough, you go in the deeper parts, it's a little colder. Well, that's the same in the Arctic, that where the polar bears swim, when they go deep to try and find food, they need that extra fur and that extra blubber to keep them warm. And then, of course, they have to come out into the cold air. So it's very important. So, do you remember we did our sign language for bear, right? Bear. And you kind of make a bear face. Bear. Okay. So let's get to our book. Our book is Roly-Poly. And the thing that I really love about this is the pictures. We're reading it with permission of Simon & Schuster. But what I love about it is all of the animals in this book are made by needling felt. And so this is an art that is becoming pretty popular, and all you do is you take this really dense wool and you poke it with a needle over and over and over until it forms the shape that it's supposed to do. So someone made all of these polar bears in here and posed them just like they needed to be and took pictures. And I love it when there's different kinds of illustrations. You might remember we did one on coral reef where everything was sewn in the pictures. Some we've used or we've read that our watercolor or our pencil drawings or our computerized drawings, different ways of being artistic is really fun. And so I want you guys to always kind of look and say, what's different about this? Because then you'll know that you can do something different with your art and it doesn't matter. Let's get started. Once upon a time, way up near the top of the world, there lived a polar bear named Roly-Poly. He had a father and a mother, but no sisters or brothers. Now, do you think polar bears really ice skate like Roly-Poly does? No. But for the story, it's still fun. The bed he slept in was his bed, and it was his bed alone. Now, polar bears also do not have houses and beds, but in our story, they do, so that's okay. The fish he caught were his fish and his alone. The walrus tooth he played with was his walrus tooth and his alone. Life was grand. Roly-Poly doesn't have to share with anybody, does he? Then one morning, Roly-Poly found a perfect stranger sharing his very own bed. Who is that? A little brother, said his father. His name is Monty. A little brother, said Roly-Poly. But I never asked for a little brother, and I don't want one now. I know, said his mother, but I think you will adore him. And look, Mom and Dad are holding the baby, and here's Roly-Poly. Roly-Poly put his nose in the air and pretended not to hear them. Monty tumbled all over him. Hey, said Roly-Poly, don't do that. I never asked for a little brother, and I don't want one now. And he stood up and he stormed off. Poor Monty. Later, Monty sat on him. "Hey," said Roly-Poly, "don't do that. I never asked for a little brother, and I don't want one now." He stood up and stormed off again. "I'm coming too," called Monty. And Roly-Poly put his nose in the air and pretended not to hear. A little later, Roly-Poly caught a fish. He was just about to eat that fish when Monty grabbed it from him. Have you ever had a little brother or sister steal your favorite toy? "Hey," said Roly-Poly, "don't do that. I never asked for a little brother, and I certainly don't want one now." He stormed off, clutching the walrus tooth to his chest. "I'm coming too," said Monty. Roly-Poly put his nose in the air and pretended not to hear. Monty crept behind Roly-Poly and snatched the walrus tooth right out of his paws. "Get lost!" yelled Roly-Poly. "Get lost right now!" And precisely that moment, the ice beneath them groaned and cracked and broke in two, and Monty began to drift away. Roly-Poly put his nose in the air and pretended not to notice. The gap in the ice grew wider and wider. "Help!" cried Monty. "Help!" Roly-Poly pretended not to hear. What's going to happen? "Help!" cried Monty again. Look how far away he is. At which point Roly-Poly could bear it no longer. "Don't cry, little Monty," he called out. "Please don't cry. I'm on my way." And he leapt into the icy sea. From that day onward, believe it or not, in spite of everything, Roly-Poly and his little brother lived happily ever after. Well, mostly because his little brother still likes to climb on him. Do you have a little brother or sister? Or are you maybe the little brother or the sister? And sometimes they say, "Leave me alone." It's not because they don't love you, really. It's just because everybody sometimes needs a little space. And being a little brother or sister means you do not know what the idea of space means. I was really lucky. I had two boys. I have two boys. And when my youngest son was born, my oldest son had been praying and praying and praying, just hoping and hoping to have 12 brothers and sisters. Well, we only got one, but he was so excited. He took classes. He learned how to change diapers. He did all of it. And when the baby was born, he was like, "He will sleep in my room." And I was like, "No, babies wake up a lot. So the baby's going to stay in mommy and daddy's room. But when he gets to have a big boy bed, he can sleep in your room." And the very first day that my younger son Colby was allowed to sleep in a big boy bed, Tyler was like, "His bed is ready. It's in my room." And they were best friends the whole time that Colby was growing up. And if Tyler was going somewhere and Colby wasn't welcome, Tyler would say to his friends, "Well, sorry, I can't go then because my little brother goes wherever I go." So sometimes you have a big sister or big brother who just love you every minute of the day. And sometimes you have a Roly-Poly who can be a little grumpy. But either way, no matter what your family looks like, you do love each other. Even when you fight, even when things get crazy. That's what families do. They love each other. And no matter what your family looks like, I hope that you have somebody who will help you when you get into trouble and who will share a little bit better than Roly-Poly. And if you're the bigger sister or the bigger brother, I hope that you will share with your little brother or sister and be sweet and love them because they think that you are the greatest thing in the whole world. So our craft this week that you can pick up at any of the 6 Hammond branches is a polar bear, and there are little fuzzy Velcro stickers so that you can make your polar bear fuzzy and give him a layer of fur. It is all ready. It just needs to be glued and stickers need to be stuck on, and you can pick that up at any of the branches. And we're gonna say goodbye. Are you ready? Get your turtle up there. Cover it with your shell. All right. My mommy had a turtle. She named him Tiny Tim. She put him in the bathtub to see if he could swim. He drank up all the water. He ate up all the soap. And now he's home, sick and in bed with a bubble in his throat. Bubble, 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 pop! Anyway, come see me at the Hammond Library. Wear your mask. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you all soon. I love you. Mwah! Bye.